So for this video, I want to discuss my September TBR, all of the books that I hope to get to in the month of September. Although, like I said in my previous video, my August wrap-up, I didn't quite get to all of the books I wanted to read in August, so I will be adding an additional book, which means quite possibly I don't get to all of the books that I want to in September. That's fine. There's definitely, I think, like 7 books that I definitely want to prioritize. And then there's like 3 or 4 books that if I can't get to them, not the biggest deal. I can probably push them into October or just read them at some other point. But yeah, these are the books. I'd love to get to all of them in September. That'd be fantastic. But history shows that probably won't happen. But anyway, enough of the preamble. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first off, the book that I wanted to get to in August but ran out of time because of work, being busy with work and all that crap. I wanted to get to Age of War, which is the 3rd book in Michael J. Sullivan's Legends of the First Empire series, one of my all-time favorite series. We're doing a read-along for this over on the Book Astronomer Discord, and we were supposed to read this in August, but of course I ran out of time. So it's going to be the first book that I pick up in September. Today, as of filming, is September 1st. I will be starting this book tonight, sometime tonight. And it's a reread, so it'll go by quickly. It's definitely one of my favorites in the series. I'll have a lot of fun with it. Obviously, can't really get into spoilers, but Age of War, with a title like that, some crap's going to go down. So it's a fun one, and I know I'm going to have a great time with it. And then continuing on with that, the book that we're supposed to read in September is Age of Legend, book 4. In Legends of the First Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. Not one of my favorites in the series, but there are some key moments that happen in this book. And it's not really 2 trilogies, but this kind of feels like somewhat of a fresh start compared to the first 3 books. I'm obviously not going to get into spoilers for why that is, but it definitely feels like, it kind of does feel like 2 trilogies in a way. Because book 3 just has such a, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Just, if you know, you know, and then if you want to know, find out. But yeah, it'll be a fun book. This actually might be a book that me and Stacy listen to together because we're going to drive to Indiana to visit her sister, and we want to, of course, get some reading done on the way. So hopefully this could be a book that we listen to together. It's like a 12-hour drive, so we could get through this whole book in that drive. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, definitely looking forward to getting to both of those books, book 3 and 4. And before I forget, let me get to the one book this month that I don't own physically, and that would be our Thrill, Chill, or Kill book club for the month of September. And what better pick than The September House? I really don't know anything about this book, if I'm being honest. I could look on Goodreads real quick. I know the main reason we chose it for September is just because it's a popular thriller book that has the month September in the title. Obviously, it's by Carissa Orlando. I don't think I've ever read a book by them before. This just says, a woman is determined to stay in her dream home even after it becomes a haunted nightmare in this compulsively readable, twisty, and layered debut novel. So it makes sense that I haven't read anything by her because it's her debut novel. And I think, yeah, it came out September last year. So makes sense. I really know nothing about this. And I like that because I generally like going into thrillers knowing as little as possible. And with that kind of premise, this sounds like it'll be a fun book. Next book I have to talk about here is the September book pick for Ray Bradbury Book Club. And that would be Driving Blind by Ray Bradbury, of course. And I wanted to intentionally pick some more obscure ones. The first 3 books that we did were very popular. The Illustrated Man, Fahrenheit 451, and The Martian Chronicles. I wanted people to get excited at the start, but I also want to highlight some of his more less popular books and some of his more obscure ones. And Driving Blind, definitely, probably not a lot of people have read this one. This is from 1997. A lot of his most popular books came out in the 50s and 60s. This is well after he was, one of the top writers in the country. But yeah, this one I do remember being very solid. and it's a short story collection. Normally his short story collections kind of have like a theme to them, like, Illustrated Man is all sci-fi, October Country kind of more horror and thriller. This one I think is just more kind of a random assortment of stories from all walks of life, from all genres. So I think it'll be a fun book to read in September. Hopefully you guys join us and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I know a lot of people have been enjoying Ray Bradbury, which brings a lot of joy to my heart because he's one of my all-time favorites. So definitely check this out if you haven't already. Also in September, we're going to be finalizing the Harry Potter read-along with, of course, book 7, the final book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Now, when I reread the last 3 books as an adult in college, I didn't like book 5, but upon a reread, I liked it a lot. And then book 6, I still liked a lot. And then book 7, I remember reading it in like a lot of the book, mild spoiler, a lot of it doesn't take place at Hogwarts. It takes place other parts of the world. And I didn't really like that as much, but I remember the ending being very good. I'm going to be interested to see how much I get along with this book, because it's been a long time. I don't really remember a lot of it. I just kind of remember the very ending, which I liked a lot. Hopefully I enjoy it more upon a reread, because I think when I first read it, it was more like a 3.5-star book. I know it's a lot of people's favorites, which I guess I can kind of get, but we'll see if I like it more or less or the same. I don't know. I'm very curious. We also have to talk about my Patreon book of the month. And if you guys don't know, I have a Patreon, and my Patreon members get to be put on a wheel, and every month I spin it, and whoever wins gets to pick any book they want me to read in the following month. And one of my Patreon members is Andrew from, of course, Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and he won, and of course, the book he wanted me to read was Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. And this is a really cool cover. This is going to be interesting because normally I like audiobooks, but this one doesn't have an audio. But it is fun to just jump into a book, like into physically read, which I don't do as often, but I wish I would more. So I'm kind of glad in a way that he chose this book, not only because I'm excited to check it out. It's supposed to be just really good fantasy, but it'll be fun to actually physically read something for a change. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you, Andrew, for choosing this book. I did have to spend a little bit of money, but that's okay. I'm excited to read it. And it'll be interesting because me and Andrew in fantasy, our tastes do not align really at all. So it'll be fun if I actually like one of his favorites. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to give it a fair shot. But yeah, I'm excited. Also, on the Book Astronomer Discord, every month I do kind of a game where I do a random number generator 1 through 100, and it's just a random number chosen, and whoever on my Discord guesses the number either exactly or the closest gets to choose a book from my Goodreads TBR for me to read the next month. And the winner this time around was Bran, and the book that he wanted me to read was Brother by Anya Alborn. And I've had this book for quite a long time, so I'm glad that he picked this so I can finally read it and or love it or get rid of it. I don't know. It's supposed to be a horror book, and it's supposed to have kind of like, I think, Wrong Turn or The Hills Have Eyes kind of vibes. Normally I like those kind of horror movies, like just, they're not my favorites, but like they're fun to watch. So we'll see if that can kind of translate well into book form. I don't know, but I've heard good things about it, so I'm definitely gonna read it and find out what it's all about. Next 4 books, which I'm holding right here. I would love to get to all of these, but the books that I mentioned up top here, those are the books that I definitely want to focus on. And then if I have time, I can get to these. A lot of these are sequels that I really want to get to. One of them is just a book that I just really want to read. But yeah, enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump into it. This book I really want to get to, and it's Hidden Warrior by Lynn Flewing. I still cannot pronounce this name. Flewing. I won't even try. But it's the sequel to The Bone Doll's Twin. And that was one of the strangest, most unique first books in a fantasy series trilogy I'd ever read. I still think about it. I read it months and months ago, and I'm still thinking about it. I gave it 4 stars at the time, but the more I think about it, it might be 4.5, 5 stars. I don't know. I've heard great things about the sequel too, and it's supposed to obviously continue along with the very strange story. I think this one, the first book was kind of described as like, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like gothic fantasy, which kind of makes sense. A lot of it does take place inside like this one castle, and you're following this one character. Creepy stuff's happening. I think this one is supposed to be kind of more straightforward political fantasy, which I obviously like. You know, like A Song of Ice and Fire is great political fantasy. It's supposed to be the great writing still, like the first book. I normally don't pay attention that much to the actual writing, like as long as you have great characters and a great story. But I don't know, something about the writing was really good, and it's supposed to be if good, if not, or as good, if not better in this one. And yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where the story goes, and I want to read it soon so I don't have to reread book 1. I do that a lot where I'll read book 1, I'll get excited, and then like a year later I'm like, I want to read the sequel, but I need to reread the first book. I want to try to avoid that and actually read this book while book 1 is still fresh in my mind. So hopefully I can get to this one in September. And I'm probably going to have the same problem with this series if I don't read book 2 soon enough, because I'm already starting to kind of lose some detail about book 1. And that would be Priest of Lies by Peter McLean. And this is the second book in the War for the Rose Throne quartet. I think it's 4 books. And first book, Priest of Bones, not like a huge surprise, but I was kind of surprised by how much I really loved that book. Gave it 4.5 stars, really liked the main character, and really liked how dark it got. It surprised me. I really enjoyed it, and I really want to get to the sequel before I inevitably lose track of the main events of book 1. I remember most of it, but I really just need to jump into this book while it's still somewhat fresh. And yeah, it's been a few months now, so hopefully I can get to this one as well. For sequel September, of course. I'm not going extremely hard for that, but, I really want to get to this one so I don't have to reread book 1. And another sequel, not fantasy, but thriller this time, would be The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. And I've really enjoyed the first 2 books. The Housemaid, the first one, 5 stars, an all-time favorite. The second one wasn't as great, but it was still really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. That one, what the heck is that one called? The Housemaid's Secret. That one was also very good. Maybe a little samey, but still really entertaining. I've heard this one is not as good. I've heard people say that it's the worst in the series so far. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or if it's going to keep continuing, but I'm still excited nonetheless to get more of this character, to see what else could possibly happen. But yeah, I'm definitely interested, and I would like to get to it soon. And the last book, this one's definitely not one that I have to get into September, but it would be a nice palate cleanser because a lot of these books are, fantasy and sci-fi and, all that stuff. But this one's kind of more of a drama, I would assume, by one of my all-time favorite authors. Can you guess? It's Taylor Jenkins Reid, Forever Interrupted. And this is one of 2 books that I have left to read by her. She's one of my all-time favorite authors, but I still have 2 books left to read. This is probably the one that I'm the more excited about because I think it's going to be more of an exploration of grief. So I think this is all about like a newlywed and like the husband dies, and it's about her going through the grieving process. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to read this one. It's also one of her more early works. I've read a bunch of her later books, obviously, but I still need to catch up and read her 2 that I haven't read yet. And this is the one that I'm the more interested in. Again, if I don't have time, this is probably the one that I will skip because I can read it anytime and it'll work. It's a standalone. But yeah, and some of these other ones that I don't have to read, I would still love to get to because they're sequels, and I really don't want to forget the stuff that I read in previous books. But yeah, all right. So that is my September TBR. All of the books that I would love to get to in the month of September. I think I had like 7 books that I know for sure I want to get to, and then I have 4 books that if I have time, I would love to get to. We'll see if that actually happens, and then we'll see if I actually end up doing any mood reading. I don't know, but we'll see. Definitely let me know if you're interested in reading any of these books, because a lot of these books, like I mentioned, are going to be buddy reads over on the Bookish Drummer Discord, and we'll have channels open for a bunch of these. So definitely let me know if you're interested, and I'll have the link down below to join if you are. Also, definitely let me know what you're the most excited for me to pick up in September, if there's any other books you'd like me to pick up in the future, and what are you the most excited to read in September? Are there any new releases you want to check out in September? Definitely leave a comment down below and we'll chat about it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Join the Bookish Drummer Discord where we've got tons of stuff happening there. I also have my Patreon link down below. Like I said, you can sign up and you'll automatically be put on the wheel spin, and you'll get a chance to pick any book you want me to read. Any book. Any book. Also, have an Amazon wish list if you'd like to buy me a book. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.